All right. Uh, Gonna start doing this weekly review thing. I actually just recorded an entire weekly review. It was like 15 minutes long. My mic wasn't on. This is very disappointing. But here, we're gonna go back at it again. Just to hit this up. I'm gonna start doing this every week. It's just my notes from the week, pretty much the stuff I've drawn in from the week, analysis of the week, looking back at the end of the previous week, and my kind of projections, predictions, what I think might happen in this next coming week, starting on Tuesday. Obviously, we're off tomorrow, Memorial Day. Yeah, let's get right into it. Starting with the weekly time frame here on the SPX 500 USD Awanda. This is CFD, and I like it. I trade. I don't trade the S&P 500 directly. I'll trade SPY during the week. Um, I like using this because it shows the futures. You can get the same thing with ES, but I just prefer to use this. This is what I've been using forever. It has all my charting stuff on it. And yeah, it gets a little cluttered when you get to the weekly time frame, but once we get down to like the hourlies, it's very clear as what the hell's going on. So what I want to point out immediately right off the bat. So we have this 1 hour demand zone. Purple's 1 hour, blue is 15 minute. I mean supply zone. 1 hour, 15 minute on blue. Red is 2 hours, and like this dark red thing is 4 hours. Yeah. So supply zone, not demand zone. Uh, we have this 1 hour supply zone right here. We actually have a smaller one, a mini one if you want to call it, right here. We'll zoom into that one later. This one though has kind of been a lot of the selling power has been absorbed from it, so I'm not really gonna worry about that. This one though is it's still holding up, very valid. This is what we were kind of predicting as the max for this week, and it played out pretty well. Dropping it down, let's drop it down to the daily so we can really get a better picture of what's going on. So this is where the week started, obviously. Sunday night, futures gapped up big time, and that really set the tone for the week. And this is where majority of the gains for the entire week came from, was just Sunday. If you didn't get this write up Sunday, this week was pretty choppy from there on out. There was a lot of room for profit. Don't get me wrong. There was a lot of great plays. Potentially, I took a couple decent plays. I got burned on one, but it's okay. There's a lot of profit potential this week. Obviously, right now there's a huge. These candle spreads have been pretty big this since the drop. A lot of volatility going on. VIX in the 30 range. I think we're at like 28, 29 now, about there. But yeah, going back to this. Last week we ended the week above this trend line. So this trend line, this bottom yellow one, this yellow one is just this one copied and put up because it also has value here. So this is what this entire kind of, I don't, if you want to call it like this, it's more of, right now we have a lot of chop going on. It's like a little bit of consolidation if you want to call it that. We obviously have this initial go up. We have that go down, this initial retrace. But since then we've been chopping upwards. We've been making higher lows essentially. Higher, you can even say this is a higher low from there. So right here, this line, if we broke below it, this would be kind of breaking that wedge that we've been forming. And that could open up a lot of potential downside, but this was a look below and fail, just like this was a look above and fail, and this is a double top. So we have to be very careful with how we're making these plays, because if you took a short down here, you got burned. When this was a short to take, this loop, we got into this short. Once we got into this demand zone right here, this was a short to take. You got to be careful for the look belows and fail. We got to look below, confirming a support as resistance, bounce off it, which we did on the smaller time frames. On like the hourly, we did that. But we need a weekly close for this to really be a valid move. And we didn't get a weekly close there. This was Friday last week, 2 weeks ago, I mean. And we closed above it, which really set the potential to really bounce off this for next week. And that's exactly what happened. This week we just shot right through it. Dropping this down to the 4 hour time frame. And I just want to point out, this was the main trend line I drew in this week. This nice little pink one right here. This was in play before, obviously, but we kind of were making these lower highs, and I was like, okay, this is an interesting trend line. We might follow this. But now we've broken above it, so I was like, okay, let's see how this follows. And we actually come down and we confirm a support. We come down and confirm a support, make these lower highs right here. That's something to look out for. I mean, no, scratch that. We're making lower highs here, and then we make this one. We're making lower lows here. This made a lower low here. Not by much. I wouldn't say that it's a very strong lower low. It's interesting nonetheless. It created a good hammer candle right here, a good hangman. Very very strong reversal potential here, and that's exactly what happened. So this is what I'm looking at mainly for next week. So we're in this supply zone, 1 hour supply zone. We just touch it there and reverse. This happened in futures. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, this happened overnight last week or 2 weeks ago. So here we get into this, and by this coming down, this created another supply zone, which this one was testing, and then this one over here. This I think the supply zone got kind of exhausted, and we kind of broke into this upper one. This upper one now is playing. So now we're gonna see this. This is next week on Tuesday or Monday night. We could get up into this and reject. Which if we reject, I'd like to see where we go from there. This fib line has some value, especially on lower time frames. Right here, there's not much. There's a lot of wicks that come into play here, but on a smaller time frame, this fib line definitely has value. The 618 is a very strong fib line historically as well, just overall. This line though, I'm very interested in this line. If we can get below this line, this would be in confirming as resistance. This would be a good short to take potentially. But I think that we have to be very careful in this range while we're in between this and this. This is a very interesting range. I'd honestly just not take a trade in here. Right now, at the end of the day last week, I actually did take a small short. It was very small short position on AMD. It was just a weekly put that I got I like to think I got for a pretty good price. It's just we're gonna see what happens there. More of a YOLO play than actually like what the hell than like a good entry and whatever. But we'll see what happens there. This, if we can get above this support, I mean not support, this supply, I could see us easily hitting this next supply. And I have I can't tell you what's going to happen around here. We're going to have to see how this plays out. Obviously, I like using this ticker because it shows the futures data. So we'll see, and that's hours, whatever. We'll see how this plays out. That's my play. If we get above this, looking to go long. If we get above this kind of double top looking thing, let's go back to like the daily, where we have this double top here, double top here. I'm not gonna say past performance doesn't guarantee future results, but especially on the weekly time frame where we're at a double top now, pretty much, where like this is not broken and this is not broken. Like this is an area where we have to be very interesting. If we can get above this area with a solid break, this opens up the upside for real. So we'll see. But if we can then again get below this potentially opens up a downside, and if we can really close below this on the weekly, and I mean we need a weekly close above this for this to really continue upwards. If we can get a weekly close above this, we can really be heading to all-time highs. Nasdaq's obviously already at all-time highs. A lot of other big tech stocks, the S&P 5, the FANG, if you want to call them the S&P 5, 20% like the S&P 500 right now, some ridiculous number. They're all at all-time highs, or pretty close to it. That very interesting to see this rally and how we're going right now. Obviously, I don't have the graphs on me right now, but we do see FANG is carrying the entire market right now. Small caps are down 30%. FANG up, I think they're up like 20%. It's ridiculous. So we'll see. We really got to see and obviously the tensions with China right now are really reaching like a boiling point where like Taiwan, South China Sea, Hong Kong, and like especially the trade stuff going on, and the trade, obviously the trade deal, but honestly maybe even more importantly the stuff with like the delisting of Chinese companies on U.S. market. That's crazy stuff going on. If China takes direct action at Apple, Microsoft, any company that produces stuff in China, like Microsoft and Apple, I'm pretty sure Microsoft makes their like Windows, their Surface computers, all that stuff in China. Like that's huge. Those are like massive parts of the S&P. If one of those stocks get hit, the S&P is going down. And that's just the reality of what's going on, how big these companies are, and like how big they've gotten. So I'm just gonna do a quick little look at SPY. I don't like. See, this is my issue with SPY. Doing reviews, doing like a full review on it. Is these gap ups make it annoying to like figure stuff out. But one very important thing we see on SPY here, because this graph is less cluttered with the supply and demand zones. This kind of wedge pattern. Look below and fail. Look above and fail. We're kind of entering that area again. We're entering that upper resistance. So we'll see what happens. We're kind of at the top of this range. I would not be looking to get long or short yet. I'd like to see us get. I'll extend this line. I'd really like to see us either break above with like a good break above or a good break below, and that's where I'd like to get a play into, a really big play. Obviously, I've been doing smaller plays on like these plays. You short this, you long this, you short this. These are smaller plays. They're good profit. But the big money is going to come from getting into a good position and holding it and watching and holding a complete swing, because this is like swing trading, if you want to call it. This is more day trading, honestly, where you're getting into a position, holding it for maybe 2 days, and selling it, because that's just the market we're in right now. And there's a lot of great profit potential there, and there's no problem doing that. But once we get into a really solid position with breaks above or breaks below, that's when you enter your bigger positions. The confirmation, if we get confirmation on a solid break below, confirmation on a solid break above, that's when I will be entering a slightly bigger position, because those are much better moves than trying to play these little tiny swings in here, in my opinion. So let's do it quickly. Actually, no, I'll do this. We're going to semis real quick. I like doing some stuff on semis, because that's what I like to look at. That's the sector I know the most about. Immediately looking at this, kind of low volume this week, and overall this week, if you look at across the board, it's like kind of low volume. Something to look at. Semis, obviously, SMH kind of a shooting star for me at the top of this trend. We'll see how this plays out. It's not a great shooting star. You could also argue it could form a pivot. There's a lot of stocks right now that could form pivots. Let's just go to Amazon real quick. I know Amazon. Amazon can form a pivot. I think Tesla can form one too. Tesla can form a pivot. If we gap down next week and go down, beautiful pivots can form across the board. So I think AMD can form a pivot. And yeah, just stuff to look at. So let's go back to semis. I like AMD and MEU are two stocks I like to trade a lot. These are just great examples of a sector leader right now, where AMD has really just V-shaped this recovery up. They've retraced like 100% almost, like pretty much. They were well over 100%. MEU's retraced maybe 50%. Not even. They were up into like almost 60, but now they're back down. So it's interesting to see how MEU's lagging the sector. Obviously, Nvidia is in a completely separate league. Nvidia, if we gap down, could form a pivot. Very interesting stuff to watch for next week. Could Nvidia just go to $400 and go to? This is .com bubble level valuations. It's just interesting stuff to watch. So let's go to this one. I just want to touch on airlines real quick. So we'll go right here. Airlines kind of had a big week this week. So Delta, Southwest, and United all pulling up with the big boy volume this week. Fucking look at United. Look at this shit. This is the biggest volume on this fucking chart. Crazy stuff. And you look at this. Look at how much price history is here. Look at how big the volume is just down here. Like, this is crazy. And there's way more price memory for what's going on over it. Look at how many candle sprints here. There's fucking 1/10 the amount of candles here with twice as much volume. It's very interesting. A lot of selling volume too. So obviously they're in these little triangles right here. So if they look like they kind of want to break above almost. This could just be a look above and fail, a false breakout, which kind of happened here a little bit. So we'll see what happens here. I'm not watching these too closely. I don't really focus on them. I had a Delta short a little while ago, but that I'm long done with that. Yeah, it's just stuff to look at. The volume this week was crazy on this, and this just segues right into this. Tech was low key lagging this week. Something to look at. Next week could be the opposite. Tech could be up like 7% like industrials for this week. But tech was on the bottom half, the bottom 1/3 of all sectors this week, which is something to look at because they've been leading the rally. If tech starts falling behind and these companies start still lag, let's say these companies still lag and tech starts falling behind too, that spells bad news for the market going up. But if these all start going up and tech starts lagging, that's going to be super interesting to watch, super interesting. Especially if we look at here, where this was 2 weeks ago, where 2 weeks ago we were down, but tech was like the least down. Obviously, that was the week where financials were really getting killed. Obviously, these got killed too, but I was watching financials that week, so yeah. Just something to look at. I'm not saying tech is going to start lagging, but it's just interesting to see that they were kind of lagging this week. It's just something to look at. So, a little recap of what I just said. Let's go back to this. If we can get above this area, I'm looking to go long. Below this area, I'm looking to get short. Right now, we're in like this no man's land zone area where I'm like, I could short this. It's a decent short, but then again, we've been really testing the supply zone. How strong is it still? It's getting weaker. We get down here, we have a demand zone here. We have a demand zone here. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. If we can get below this, if we can get up here and it looks like we're going to reverse, I have no problem shorting this. And then if we can get to here and it looks like we're going to break, I have no problem holding it. If it looks like we're going to turn around like we did here, I'll sell out. That's exactly what we did here. Shorted up here last week, took it to here. It looked like we could have broken this, especially on like the 1 hour, I think it was. Oh yeah. Oh no, what happened was this candle formed, and we're like, this is pretty bullish. And then I think we ended up selling out about here. We went down, tested it, and then we resumed back up. So just stuff to watch out for. Get below this, definitely potentially going short, but above this, the bull situation really gets opened up. But we're in this interesting little range here, where it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. So hope you liked the video. Let me know. Give me your feedback. Tell me if you disagree, agree or disagree. I like hearing both sides. So yeah, peace out.